What's up, Halas Huddlers? We are back with another episode of the Halas Huddle podcast. Not much of a hook here, not much of an intro. We are going to get right into things. The big news that we got to talk about is the Darnell Wright signing. Did Poles get this decision right? We got a little bit to talk about training camp. We're going to throw some rapid fire things at you guys. I want you to go to the comments. I want you to talk about what you want us to talk about, because if we didn't address it tonight, let's bring it up in the next podcast. But I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. Tonight with me is Justin Oniemi, good friend, buddy, co-host. Justin, how are you doing?
Doing very well, Rob. I was on vacation, saw that you and Bob were putting content out there, and now it's Bob's turn to be on vacation. So we're going to hopefully bring some good content today. As always, get in the comments section so we can keep the conversation going with you, Huddlers.
Yeah, if you have not already hit that subscribe button, please continue to do so. Go down, hit subscribe, hit the notifications so you know when we put out new content. The content will continue to progress as we get closer to the season. Look, this is not our day jobs. We consider ourselves fanalists. We tell it you guys all the time. We have families, so vacations, like things just are keeping us from doing this on a daily basis or even, a couple times a week. So I'm hoping I'm going to reach out to Gary to try to get a connection with him and see what he might have availability. I know he's been to a few of the camp days. We'll get him on, get his take on what he's seeing versus what maybe we're hearing in the media. If you are not following him on social media, go find him on Twitter, Gary Ross. That's all you got to search. You will find him. Not Gary Rappaport. I know that's what we call him, but you got to search Gary Ross. You will find him out there. But yeah, I'm excited to talk Bears. So let's get into it, Justin. Again, the first thing, I think the biggest news of the week, did Ryan Poles get it right? And obviously there's the play on right. There was a huge uproar in the 2023 draft when Ryan Poles traded down from number 9 and did not take Jalen Carter and instead moved down to 10, got a 4th-round pick, which if our memory serves was the Keenan Allen 4th-round pick trade, right? So that could have been a thing that has helped Caleb Williams progress into the quarterback we are seeing today, right? But he moves back to 10, takes Darnell Wright. Before I go to you, I'm going to be honest, and we'll talk contract here in a minute. Before we get there, though, I will be 100% honest. I had him ranked 24th on my board. I had to go look at it today because it's been so long. That was my first year of doing a full breakdown of the NFL draft. I got to 115-ish players in my rankings. And again, he was 24th. Still a first-round grade on the guy. I didn't despise the pick. I didn't hate the pick. I will say I did not want Jalen Carter, so I wasn't mad about that. Even though I did have Carter ranked higher in my rankings from a production standpoint, I just didn't feel like the fit was right. It didn't make sense at the time where the team was at. It's interesting, though, to see, right? Because Darnell Wright gets a massive contract. The Chicago Bears reset the market for right tackle positions. We'll talk about that a little bit more in detail here in a minute. In the same 7-day span, Jalen Carter gets a massive contract from the Philadelphia Eagles, and they kind of reset the market from at least guaranteed money standpoint from a defensive tackle, right? So, Justin, what do you think? Did the Bears make the right choice with Darnell Wright? Should they have taken Jalen Carter, or should they have just done something completely different here?
Well, I'm just going to say they handled the situation right. And, of course, I'm using the play on words as you've pointed out. But I'm not even going to talk about it that much from the Jalen Carter lens. I know I'll leave that to you because it gets your blood boiling, I believe. But this is just a wise move to make, and it's what good teams do. All the players that are skill position players, they're the ones that get talked about. They're the ones that get hyped. Those are the people, people buy the jerseys for those guys. And everyone's excited about this young core the Bears have. But you putting a guy like Darnell Wright into a long-term deal, and he's an all-pro at his position who's still getting better, that's how good teams do it. And to your point, where you had him ranked 24th, there were people that thought maybe he got overdrafted. But the Bears, they did their due diligence. They found their guy, and they went hard at getting him and acquiring him, and they were even able to then pick up draft capital. But they hit on that pick. And that's not something the Bears do, Rob. Do you know, prior to Darnell Wright, when was the last time the Bears signed a first-round pick to another contract.
I actually do know this. I only know this because I saw someone tweet about it on social media. So do I get to break it or do you get to break it? Kyle Fuller,
all the way back in 2014. And so some of those years they didn't even have first-round picks, but other times it's guys that just did not pan out. Sometimes it's guys that are panning out on other teams. And so you're not able to get them to do what you need them to do in your system. Now, let's point out something obvious here for the true Bears fans and true Halas Huddlers. This pick was pre-Ben Johnson, right? And so the hope is you now have an anchor on your line. We love Joe Thuney, right? But he's getting up there in age. But when you look to the future of this team, you now have a guy locked in on your line that you believe is an all-pro on the line. And then they've invested draft capital there as well with a guy like Ozzie Trapillo. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on the center because he's not getting very much play right now. Logan
Jones.
But you go after these guys early. You invest in the trenches, at least on one side of the ball, right? And you build something that's sustainable.
To be fair, they've invested on the other side of the ball. It just hasn't worked out.
All right, that's fair. But building through the draft, that's what this looks like. The money, it was done the right way. The Super Bowl champions just did the same thing with JSN, their star receiver. You give them their fifth-year option. That slots in their money for years 4 and 5. Then you give them an extension, which sounds like big money. Highest paid right tackle in the history, most guaranteed money in the history. But you're spreading it out over 6 years, and the cap continues to go up and up and up. So he'll be a lower percentage of the cap years from now when he'll still only be 28 years old or 29 years old. So I just think it was a great move by the Bears. Great for Darnell Wright. He deserves it. And now let's see him just continue to improve as a cornerstone of the offensive line for years to come.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So just really quick, it's a 4-year deal, $93 million, $29 million per year, but obviously that gets tacked on because they've already got him through his rookie deal, right? And it gives you an opportunity to spread things out later too, right? Because if you need to find money, you can spread that out. Look, I know $29 million per year in AAV, that sounds like a lot right now, but guess what? The projected franchise tag in 2027, so next year, right? And they wouldn't even have to have tagged him next year. It wouldn't have been until 2028 because they used their 5th-year option on him. The 2027 franchise tag for next year for an offensive lineman is projected to be just over $30 million because, they don't differentiate the left tackle and right tackle when they figure those things out. So it's interesting to me to see how this plays out, but I'm going to guarantee that by 2027, by 2028 even, it's going to look like a massive discount that they got Darnell Wright for. And the guy has been an all-pro basically his entire career. I know he wasn't voted all-pro during that time, but we have argued it on this show. I understand Pro Bowl voting is just nonsense and it's not a big deal if you make it or not because it means literally very little. Although I did find out that if you have no Pro Bowl / all-pro voting, and someone correct me if I'm wrong because I read this, I didn't fact check it. It could be completely wrong, but someone was saying that you could not get into the Hall of Fame. So, for example, Devin Hester got in the Hall of Fame as a kick returner. He was a kick return specialist. He was a punt return specialist. He was getting in as a special teams player. Had he not, then he wouldn't even have been able to be voted in. So again, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is something I just learned in this last week. And there was a conversation about a different player. Taysom Hill, by the way, was the guy that people were talking about. Well, if Devin Hester can get into the Hall of Fame, Taysom Hill should get into the Hall of Fame because he is a utility knife out there. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you smoking? Because I want some.
Dang, I was going somewhere. You lost me with the Taysom Hill comment.
I probably lost a lot of people with the Taysom Hill comment.
I know what I was going to say. The Bears handled this correctly. When you go out, you find a guy, you invest the time to develop him, and you sign them at the right time. If you string this thing along, to your point, you're going to end up paying more. That's just how this works. I mean, Bijan Robinson signs his deal, highest paid running back ever. Jahmyr Gibbs' agent smartly says, I'll take another $1 on that, or another $1 million, or whatever it might end up being. And so the price of doing business just continues to rise. It doesn't get ugly with, potential holdouts and threatening the franchise tag and all those things. You found your guy. You're saying to him, you're one of our anchors. You pay him and you move forward. And so I love it. I love it. Now I'm hoping some of those other picks they've made on the line early, maybe those pan out. And right around the time you're losing to Joe Thuney, you feel great about 3 young guys that you've now put in a position to carry the torch.
Yeah, and Jonah Jackson isn't that old either. I think he's 29. So, if you look at this offensive line outside of Thuney, there's a lot of potential to continue and get that continuity going. Then you got guys like Luther Burden. You got, obviously, Caleb Williams. You got Rome Odunze. You guys have a lot of Colston Loveland, a huge plethora of young talent that you are building. What did Ryan Poles say when he first got here? You need to build through the draft. That is what they have finally started doing. This is why I didn't understand why so many people were so angry about Ryan Poles. Look, he's not perfect. No GM ever is, but it's great to see where this is going. I absolutely love it. I do want to just briefly touch on the Jalen Carter side of it. So he signed a massive deal also, $152 million extension, 107 million of that is guaranteed. I don't understand that one, to be honest. I know that I am out here in my weird sense of you got to show me more. If you are going to get paid like that, that guy better come out on the stat sheet this year. I know defensive tackles, you're not always going to show up, but when you look at the Veas, you look at the Quinnen Williams, you look at the top guys who are getting pressure.
Aaron Donald,
Aaron, you're looking at those guys and seeing how many times they're putting pressure on the quarterback. I need to see Jalen Carter in the top 10, and I am not seeing it. It's bothering me that people think that this guy is worth this much money.
Rob, let your conference rival overpay a guy then.
100%.
All right,
100%.
Don't get mad about it. Oh, and 100%. By the way, I just want to come back to something. It's very small. I will try not to call any players. I've reached the age myself where it would be offensive for me to call anyone old unless it's Velus Jones.
That's right. Who is still technically younger than us, by the way.
Catching a stray there. Sorry, Velus, if you're listening.
All right, go to the comment section. Let us know what you think about the Darnell Wright situation. Are you glad that they signed him? Do you think it's a good deal, even though they reset the market? We want to hear from you. Go to the comment section right now. Don't even wait to get to the next segment. Go down there. Let us know. Look, Johnny Quest, JQ, you do this all the time. You always comment as you're listening. I absolutely love it. I can pick up on where your brain is going. It's fantastic. Other people, go do the same. It's fun to play along, have these conversations. We continue those on after the show is over. All right, let's move on to our next little blurb here. Look, we keep talking about it. There's a ton of rankings that are going on right now. That's what we do in the offseason. And I know, they mean nothing. They literally mean nothing because it's show me what you're going to do this year, right? What have you done for me lately? That's how the NFL works. You could be a top tier NFL coach, and yet you got one bad year, you pile on a second bad year, you're already on the hot seat. Look at John Harbaugh. Boom, gone, right? Gone. Although it doesn't look very good for the Giants. I don't know. That guy's speech just maybe that's what he's not motivating at all. But
they got Nagy.
And then you got Nagy, who sounds even worse than Matt Eberflus at times. So Caleb Williams, look, The Athletic put this out as a free article. You can go find it on the New York Times. But they went through and they got rankings from GMs and executives, right? I'm sorry, GMs and coaches.
Coaches,
right? And executives. They didn't say GMs, right? So they just said executives and coaches.
Yeah.
And it not necessarily
side of the ball, some are on defensive side of the ball. So I
correct.
think this means a little bit more than nothing, because when it's just random journalists doing their thing or fanalists like us doing their thing, that's different to me than people who go through the extensive draft process on all these guys. Like you said, your notes and how extensive it was times 100, right? And you're talking about guys who are actually out there drawing up X's and O's, preparing teams to play against these quarterbacks. I think their opinion does matter a little more. And, you want to reveal in this? There were 5 tiers. So tier 1 being the best, down to tier 5 being like almost unplayable, right? And tier 1 is this guy, because of him, we have a chance to win every single week. So do you want to reveal where was our Caleb Williams?
I mean, look, Caleb Williams ended up in tier 2. It was a step up from last year. In 2025, he found himself in the tier 3 of QB rankings. So, I mean, not quite the bottom of the barrel, but, a guy who had an arrow possibly pointing up, but could have went backwards and fallen off a cliff, similar to how we probably saw Mitch Trubisky go from 2018 to 2019. So Caleb Williams pushes himself, and not only does he push himself up into tier 2, he pushes himself up way up into tier 2, okay? Because not only are you in a tier, you are also ranked, 1 through, was it 32 or 35? I can't. 35. And here's where it gets interesting is he was one of 3 to see the biggest leap from year 1 from 2025 to 2026. Drake May being, I think, number 1 in that grouping. And Sam Darnold, I think, was the second one, and Caleb was 3rd, if I'm remembering correctly. But guys, he's right outside the top 10. And if I'm looking at where he falls right now, we'll break it to you. He was tied for 11th. I do think it's a little bit unfair that he was tied with Brock Purdy, in my opinion. When I have my eye test, I'd rather Caleb Williams than Brock Purdy, just personally. I don't know if it's my Bear goggles being too tight. I don't know if it's just my Bears bias, but I am not putting Brock Purdy at 11 when I make my QB rankings. But what's interesting is he is one spot below Jordan Love. And Jordan Love is going into what, year 7 of his career? Is this year 7?
Already getting big money. So real quick to Brock Purdy, it is a very good article on The Athletic, so do check it out if you are able to. But they go into some of the comments that people made. And with Brock Purdy, it was never without mentioning the Kyle Shanahan system. Now, they tried not to take anything away from him because they said, he still seems like the perfect match to that system. For instance, Jimmy Garoppolo played very well in that system, but they were like, Purdy's better than Garoppolo, basically. But I think with Purdy and Williams tying, you can look at that a lot of ways. No one's going to confuse the 2 quarterbacks. You know what I mean? They play very different. And with Purdy, it's just how fast he's processing is what they say is so impressive. Whereas with Williams, he's holding the ball longer than almost anyone else. And in some voters' minds, I think that brings him down, not yet playing within the system. But it kind of reminds you of a guy like Josh Allen, who early in his career, he was like that tier 3, borderline tier 3, tier 2 guy. And it wasn't until he consistently showed that, I can play out of the system because I am my own system. Now he's a bona fide tier 1, only coming in behind Patrick Mahomes. So it's great to see Williams making a huge jump. You mentioned tied for 11th, but he was 23rd, I believe, last year. So that's a huge jump. And like you said, show it on the field. The arrow, I feel, is pointing up, but it's for him to prove and show. And where you say, Purdy's doing great in a Kyle Shanahan system, well, I like Williams in a Ben Johnson system a lot. And we get our eyes close on that, even here in training camp. I think that's going to serve him very well in the years to come. So this could be his low point as he excels to tier 1.
And just a few interesting nuggets. So Caleb Williams did not get any tier 1 votes this season. Jordan Love got a few. Drake May had 5. He was in 8th in this one, which I thought was a little bit high. I feel like, I don't like to worry about strength of schedule, but when you look at strength of schedule, you look at how they finished, right? And the Chicago Bears did end up having a somewhat easy schedule last year. If you look at the strength of schedule, it was a historic low, an historic low for the Patriots last year. And I don't know if he's necessarily going to be able to repeat what he did. And I'm a huge Drake May fan. I still had him as my QB too. He
just got a better weapon.
That's right. So we're going to see how it plays out. This is the year to see where these guys really transition. Year 3, right? You got Ben Johnson's offense for Caleb for his second year. You got Drake May trying to come back and prove a Super Bowl run that they completely fell on their asses in the Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks. Wasn't just like, because look, they did have to move their way through the playoffs. They did, right? He gets credit there.
It was mostly Bradbury's fault, right?
It was, yeah. I mean, well, there's been some snapping issues in camp this year. All right.
You Logan Jones, you're on the Logan Jones fan club, I know. So.
I mean, I am the Logan Jones fan club, but I will say that, Ben Johnson has said that it's going to be, it's been humming. So it seems like Bradbury is currently holding on to that spot fairly well.
That he's earning it, Rob. That's your point.
Correct. And that's the whole point is you got to give him the opportunity to earn it. And you got to give Logan Jones the opportunity to earn it. You're not going to put one in and just, let it happen. But, now I lost my train of thought on where I was going with it. Oh, but they also played the Broncos without Bo Nix, right? So, there was some layups. That wasn't a layup. Some layups in there. I'm not a basketball guy. Some layups in there for the Patriots, even within the playoffs. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out for him. I do want to see both these guys in year 3. Jaden Daniels was number 13 on the list. He also had a single, maybe 2. Votes for it was a single vote for tier 1. Bo Nix had a single vote for tier 1. So it was a little shocking to me that Caleb Williams did not have any tier 1 votes, but you pointed it out in the comments pre-show. And I think it's just something we should touch on before we move on to our rapid fire segment, is that it seems like the GMs, the executives, were higher on Caleb Williams than the coaches. And part of that was the fact that he wasn't getting the ball out as quick as coaches would like. But it's interesting to me because, look, I get the vibe from Ben Johnson that he is completely okay with how quickly Caleb Williams is getting the ball out. The processing even in camp looks faster. There was a Luther Burden catch today for a touchdown in the 2-minute drill. I think they had 1:41 left. They were down 24-20 or something like that from their own 35-yard line. Caleb Williams went 6 for 6. Threw a touchdown to Luther Burden at the end. And I saw a video, and he burned my guy, Dylan Thieneman, just a nice little inside route. And the anticipatory throw by Caleb Williams was absolutely fantastic. And again, I know it's camp, but those are the things you want to continue to see.
So this survey was of 50 total people. So it's not as if it's every head coach, every GM. Like it was some here, some on offense, some on defense. And so you got to wonder, I still must think bias does come in. You know what I mean? Like who is the one vote tier 1 for Baker Mayfield? Maybe they had the defensive coordinator of Tampa, and it's all anonymous. The comments are not associated to a particular person. So take it still with a grain of maybe pepper instead of salt. I don't know. Like I said, I want to give it some credence because these guys are in the industry, but at the same time, it doesn't matter until the plays happen on the field.
That's right. And biases do come into play, and I'm just going to play into this really quick. I think this is a good segment on what I wanted to mention. This is not technically training camp rapid fire. However, I wanted to get your opinion on this. I don't know if you saw it, but there was an interview with Matt LaFleur, and they were looking to hire an offensive, I think it was an offensive lineman coach, right? And it just so happened to be that he was, and I'm probably screwing this up because I briefly saw it before we got on the podcast tonight, but I want to say it was Dick Butkus's nephew, if I'm remembering correctly. I think it was his nephew, and they were trying to get the guy, interviews went great, and they were talking to Dick Butkus about wearing green and gold, and it sounds like they ended up not going with him because of the connection between the Chicago Bears and the rivalry of the Green Bay Packers. I just thought that was interesting. Again, not training camp related, just something. Go find the clip. It's out there. I think it was a Kay Adams interview with Matt LaFleur. So go check that out. All right, Justin, I'm going to throw some things at you real quick. Injuries was a thing today. There was a bunch of injuries that happened, but the biggest one in my mind was Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones was physically and emotionally, you could see it, frustrated by an injury that took place. He's been running with the ones. He ended up getting pulled off, didn't come back. He had kind of been winning that left tackle position. I know he's been getting beat up a little bit by Booker a little bit, but he had kind of taken on that left tackle spot, and our thought, as the side pieces, the side kicks to Bob Weiss, who absolutely was like on the Braxton Jones train last year, was hopefully it was just the injury that set him back last year, and then he was able to come back healthy this year and regain that position and regain that spot and play well with Ozzie Trapilla being out until, at least week 10-ish probably. I don't know, like, before I throw it over to you, the interesting part was it wasn't Jedrick Wills who came in at left tackle. It was actually Kyron Amagachi.
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy you invested quite a bit of draft capital in as well with a third-round pick, and you really want that to work, and this is your last chance to make it work. And so the fact that Amagachi's been getting his opportunity, I think shows that, they want him to have a role and that this truly is an open competition, but again, he'll have to earn it. My least favorite part of being a fanalist for the Chicago Bears and just NFL in general is that this is such a rough sport and injuries are inevitable. And so you lose a guy like Kobe Bryant, who's, the big free agent signing of the offseason. Everyone's excited, and you don't have a whole lot behind him, and you lose him for, I guess you could say, thankfully, hopefully only 8 to 10 weeks, as opposed to maybe a season-ending injury. We don't know what's going on with Braxton Jones, what the prognosis is. But at that position, you kind of mentioned it. There are guys where you feel like, hey, next man up. And that's just the NFL mentality. And so I feel like since injuries are inevitable, what you really have to depend on then is that the guys who come in next are being well coached and are being well developed. And for the first time in a long time, Rob, and I know we're talking, sometimes we're talking defensive side of the ball, and Ben Johnson oversees this with an offensive mindset, but this seems like a well-coached team. And so it makes me feel a little bit better that the guy who comes in, and hopefully it's just for shorter spells as opposed to you're playing with a backup at a position all season long, that those guys are going to come in, know what they have to do, and execute it. Now, you talk about an injury to Kobe Bryant, and the first question a lot of people start asking is, how will that affect a rookie like Dylan Thieneman? And so I understand that there is kind of a larger effect to these things, but training camp, man, injuries are happening. Some teams are losing guys for the year already, and it's just unfortunate. But I'm confident that at certain positions they can weather the storm.
Yeah, so just to throw out the names that were rumored or reported that got dinged up. Now, when we say dinged up, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be out for any length of time. That could have just been a tweak. It could have been something. Khalif Raymond, for example, Gary reported on Twitter today that he actually got up and was kind of limping, was gingerly walking off, but it was the last play of the game, so practice was over. You don't know if he was able to come back or what that situation might be. Montez Sweat got a little dinged up today. A returner, I don't even know the guy's name off the top of my head. I don't even think he'd make the roster, but he ended up getting carted off the field today on a punt return drill. You mentioned Kobe Bryant. Look, another thing we got to throw out there. Ben Johnson in his press conference said, where are you guys getting this 8 to 10 weeks from? This has not been reported by me. Well, guess what? That was reported by Adam Schefter, who clearly has his inside contacts. I'm going to believe that that's probably where the prognosis is going to be, is that 8 to 10 weeks. You got to assume Ben Johnson is trying to be a little bit coy on the situation. But if it is truly 8 to 10 weeks, the good news is that means you could put him on IR for 4 weeks, designated to return. You can ramp him up, and he should hopefully, at the worst, be back for the Green Bay Packers game.
I don't know if that's worst or if that might be the 8-week end of things, but
that was 10. That was 10 weeks.
Oh, that's the 10 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be nice then.
Yeah.
What else
I
you
don't
got?
think there was.
Fire. Sorry, I wasn't very rapid.
Yeah, no. I don't think there was any other big injuries. Let's see. 2 guys that are standing out on the defensive line. Obviously, Austin Booker is showing up this season. Is this going to be hopefully his breakout year? Guys, I don't think everyone remembers this. He's only 23 years old. Only 23 years old. So that's a huge thing. And then defensive tackle rookie, Jordan Vandenberg. He's been flashing against the 2s and 3s. Got a little bit of a rotation with the 1s today in one of their drills. Seeing those 2 guys, play out a little bit, I think that's a good sign for what's to come with the Chicago Bears defense this season, because that front has been not great. Jervon Dexter had a tip ball that I believe looked like it was tipped that ended up being a Tyreek Stevenson interception this year or this camp today. So those are some of the things that stood out. Malik Muhammad, he came in and played the nickel spot for Jalen Jones. That was another guy who got dinged up. Came in for Jalen Jones and played with the ones at the nickel spot. So if they can get him locked in there, I think that would be a good thing. I personally prefer him on the outside. It's where I saw him when I was scouting him. But if they can get him to learn that position and play the inside, and you have your best guys out there, if Kyler Gordon cannot play, I think that's important. So I'll let you touch on any of those things, and then we'll talk offense real quick, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right. Well, so with Vandenberg and with Booker, we always say you got to kind of wait till the pads go on to really evaluate the play in the trenches. And the big thing in the offseason, and it sounded a little weird, I'll be honest, was that Dennis Allen and the team as a whole said, we're going to just go back to looking at fundamentals and kind of the basics, and that last year it was about installing a scheme. And so they feel like things like get off weren't emphasized maybe enough. And I would hope that it was emphasized plenty, but that is an area where you see Booker and Vandenberg kind of are excelling. And they're both obviously young players. So again, these are the type of guys. Are they part of a core that you can build and succeed around? We've talked about the edge as a position of concern. Maybe they've felt confident this whole time in what they have in Booker. But as soon as you say Montez Sweat got a slight ding, I'm like, oh my gosh, look how thin you are. Dio's name's been coming up, but they're talking about him moving inside more. And so you can't have it all. I mean, I think that's part of it, but I'm still not sure they're done in the defensive line. But it's good to see those two young players are popping. In the defensive backfield, I just feel like they already are just shuffling things around, and it didn't help that Kyler Gordon, I don't even think we mention it as an injury because it's just what it is until it isn't. So, you're missing guys that are higher up on what would be your depth chart. And now that just forces the issue on everyone else, because at safety, Cam Lewis, who was kind of more going to be your nickel replacement, he's also your best safety replacement. So you hope it doesn't affect a guy like Muhammad, but they want to win this year. It's not only about developing, Muhammad as a draft pick. Where is he going to help this team win this year? Maybe that's now going to have to be at nickel. Maybe that was the plan the whole time. But as fanalists, we kind of react and overreact. They're still just at the beginning of training camp, guys. And so these bangs and bruises are going to happen. Guys are going to learn different positions. So far, so good across the board for me.
So can they win, though? Because guess what? Aaron Donald, which you mentioned earlier, was seen in pads, a helmet and pads, practicing with the Rams. Talks continue about him potentially unretiring. I know he hasn't played in 3 years, but he has been physically fit. You see it in his Instagram videos, whatever other social media posts he's putting out there. Like, he is still staying in football shape. If he comes back to play with Myles Garrett, should the NFC, just at least the NFC side, just like fold, just forfeit? I mean, the season's pretty much done. The Rams were already the season favorites to win the Super Bowl. Now you throw him in. Injuries aside, I don't see how any team stops him.
Rob, how many straight? I think, was it 3 straight years the Bears won the offseason? Like offseason champions, I believe. Right now, if you're kind of making them paper champions. You got to go out on the field and prove it. A lot of things happen in a football season. We're seeing it. We just talked about injuries. We don't wish injuries on anyone, but they're a reality of the game. And it's how you come together as a team. Even the best teams, on a 53-man roster, there's some turnover. There's turnovers on the coaching staff. Things are changing so much that you never know, and it's a long, grueling season. Now, are they a formidable opponent and a team you got to keep your eye on? Of course. But by the time the postseason comes next year, I hope that's how people look at the Bears. And you got to play it on the field. So we'll see. If they beat the Bears in the NFC Championship, are you mad?
No.
There you go.
No. It just happened, and I wasn't mad. Right? It was probably the best loss I think I've ever been at. Right?
That wasn't the NFC.
It wasn't an NFC Championship, but they still beat them leading up to that game, and I still wasn't upset about it. All right, so we'll close with this. On the offensive side of the ball, Luther Burden looks absolutely dynamic. Rome Odunze has been fantastic in camp as well. Colston Loveland is still looking great. The offense is humming. I know it's mostly in shorts and helmets, right? When the pads come on, things starting to get even out a little bit, is according to Adam Johns. So that's one, or no, it was Greg Braggs who had said that. Things are starting to even out a little bit as the pads are coming on. I think that's understandable. I am a little bit worried about this defense, but if the top 3 play caller in Ben Johnson is here, and Caleb Williams continues to progress, and it sounds like he's making strides in finding the easier passes, the dinks and the dunks at times. Maybe that is the answer to how you beat the Rams this season. I don't know. We still have not done our prediction of where we think the season is going to go. We got to get that in over the next couple of weeks. I got nothing else to say, though. If you got anything to add to that, I'll let you talk, and then we'll wrap it up.
I kind of wanted to say something, but we're going a little over here, so I'm going to tease it. I have a very bold prediction. I think we should do an episode of bold predictions, Rob, or at least a segment of bold predictions at some point, because I'm excited about the young core that the Bears have put together on offense, and I'm expecting big things from them. So that I'll hold that for a future episode where we do some bold predictions. But other than that, I'm good, Rob.
I love it. Guys, let's continue to talk Bears. Keep following us. Hit the subscribe button. Until next time, bear down, claws up.
Bam!